the words and I got the flow. See, I don't gotta write, I got the Holy Ghost. Yeah, that's called a ghost writer. Jeremiah 5:14, that's so fire. Isaiah 14, and when I retire, out of captivity, I broke the iron. Who that is coming out of Mount Zion? Woolly hair, looking like a lion. 1,000 men marching with no drums on, no trombone, just boots.
Welcome to FCN Quick News of the Day. I'm your host, Officer Eben, and in today's news we have...
According to government data, nearly 50 million Americans lack consistent access to food. Many depend on the charity of food banks. In tonight's In Depth, CBS's Manuel Bajorquez reports federal funding cuts are starving the food banks and those who depend on them sources.
Before sunrise, workers at Feeding South Florida move, load, and stack pallets of food and household goods onto trucks. With the help of volunteers, this flurry of activity has allowed the organization to distribute food to 1.2 million people throughout 4 Florida counties. People like Rosalind Budget, who lives on a fixed income and comes here every 2 months.
I'm able to get a balanced meal in on a daily basis, you know.
And if you didn't have this, what would happen?
I probably would starve.
Starve.
I probably would starve.
But the aid she relies on has been reduced. The Department of Government Efficiency cut funding for about $1 billion worth of USDA programs. For Feeding South Florida, the cuts amount to 40% of its $37 million annual budget.
You're already seeing empty shelves, essentially.
We've been seeing empty racks since February. These cuts have really made an impact, not just on our ability to serve, but on the family's ability to thrive in South Florida and across the country.
Paco Velez is CEO of Feeding South Florida.
It's an unfortunate situation because we see that our families are desperate. They're coming in more frequently than they ever have. And we're trying to maintain as much food as we can, but there is a little desperation.
The line of cars for weekly food distribution at Ebenezer Church in South Miami has only gotten longer over the years.
We have sweet potato, we have onions, and everything is fresh.
Pastor Roberto Blanco, who gets part of the supply from the warehouse, is working with less.
Si recibimos menos, entonces damos menos cantidad.
So if you get less food, you have to give them a smaller supply.
Porque el propósito es que cada familia lleve algo.
So they at least can have something.
Yeah.
It's affecting farmers, too. East Coast Farm and Vegetables near Parkland, Florida, partnered with Feeding South Florida, using federal dollars to pick and pack surplus produce destined for families in need.
This program is a great use of our tax dollars. We are not only helping our farmers here in the States, but you're also feeding families.
Without the funds to process the produce, farmers are hoping crops won't go to waste.
We know that the end goal is to feed people, and we need to work towards that goal.
The goal of reaching those most in need. Manuel Bajorquez, CBS News, Miami.
All right, so let's open up with Deuteronomy 28. So what we're seeing that's happened throughout the nation is that the federal government, they're making cuts to these food programs, and it's having a ripple effect on our people right here in Babylon. So let's open up with Deuteronomy 20, verse 15.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So Moses is warning us that if we break God's commandments, that curses is going to come upon us as a nation of people. And what's one of those curses? Is a curse for us to depend on another nation, on another race, in order for us to feed ourselves, in order for us to have food. Jump down to verse 48.
Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things.
So part of those curses is that we're going to have to go to our enemies in want of our sustenance, even our food that we need to nourish ourselves. But what is Babylon doing? What are what our enemies doing? They are cutting off our food supply. Because if any of y'all are paying attention to the news, what's going on right now? What just passed through the House? You had the big, beautiful bill. And part of the big, beautiful bill is they want to give more or continue the tax cuts, make permanent tax cuts for the rich. That's going to add about $2.8 trillion to the deficit. But part of that as well is them making cuts to Medicaid, cutting off over $800 billion over the next 10 years for Medicaid, and also making cuts to SNAP. That goes into our food program, food stamps, and they're going to cut about $200 billion from the SNAP program. So that's having a ripple effect on the food banks across America. And in this video, we're talking about South Florida. And who is this mainly going to affect? It's going to affect the impoverished amongst us, but also it's going to affect our elderly. You know, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents. A lot of them are living on a fixed income. And when you're living on a fixed income, you'll get a little bit from Medicaid to help you with your medicine. You'll get a little bit from food stamps, from SNAP to help you with your food. But when you don't have, you know, that extra $180 for food, as a person who's living on a fixed income, that's a lot of money. That'll make a difference between you eating tonight or you starving. So read that from the top again.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. In hunger.
So in hunger, we're gonna have to serve our enemies. Our enemies are gonna control our access to food, and one of those controls is them making federal cuts to the SNAP programs. And these food banks are having less food, less resources in order to feed our people. So now go to Matthew chapter 24, because Christ prophesied that this will happen in the latter times. Matthew 24 and verse 4.
The book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 4. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
So we're going to be hearing wars and rumors of wars. The new war that just started is the war between Israel and Iran. And it's not just Israel, America too, because America and Israel, they both work in unison. So you have Israel and America versus Iran. You have Russia and Ukraine. Continue reading.
See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places.
So now we're seeing those early stages of famines right here in Babylon in our face. So famines, it's not just going into food shortages and us not having access to food. It's also going into the rising cost of goods as well. You know, over the past decades, that those bag of potato chips that used to cost you 50 cents, they now cost $2. You know, that quick meal you'd be able to get from the fast food that costs you $5 for a combo meal, that same combo meal costs $12. So it's also going into the rise in the cost of food as well. That's a famine, because the food cost is going up, and you don't have the funds to buy that food, then you're gonna starve as well. So it's not just going into food shortages and the lack of food, it's also going into the cost of food as well. It's going into inflation as well. So read that part again.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines.
There's gonna be famines, because one thing that I've noticed, I went to Walmart to do some grocery shopping, and when I went to the self-checkout line, I was getting ready to pay for my food. There's an option for me to use Klarna. It was either Klarna or Afterpay, one of those buy now, pay later options. And we're seeing that as a result over the decades, the rising cost of living has gone up, but our salaries have remained stagnant over the past 30 years. So now what's happening? A lot of people can't afford food. So now they have that option for us to do buy now, pay later. Do monthly installments on your groceries. That's showing you that we have less and less money. Our buying power is shrinking as time goes on. So let's move on to Hosea 5 and 15. Why is this happening? Hosea 5 and 15.
The book of Hosea chapter 5 and verse 15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early.
And this goes back to Deuteronomy 28. Moses warned us that if we do not keep God's commandments, if we turn our backs on God, that he's going to bring those curses upon us. So that's our offense with God. We turn our backs on him. We're in the midst of sin. So now God is bringing that judgment. He's bringing that affliction on our people in order for us to turn back to him. Because if everything was fine and dandy, you know, a lot of our people were caught up in the politics of the last election. They want to make America great again. They want to live a comfortable life. Our sisters want to live that soft life. No, we are in the land of our captivity. So in order for the Lord to wake us up, what must he do? He has to bring that affliction on our people. And part of that affliction, he's going to start making the cost. He's going to make the cost of living continue to increase. Our wages are going to remain stagnant. Many of our people are going to get laid off from their cushy job that they have, and they're not going to have the money, the funds in order for them to buy food. That is the affliction that the Lord is bringing upon us. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 now and 24. 2nd Ezra 15 and 24.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 24. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith the Lord. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children, from the power. Defile not my sanctuary. For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction.
So when many of our people are in the midst of sin, God's gonna bring is the one that's gonna bring that death and destruction on our people. So many of our people are gonna starve to death from these coming famines. So what must we do in order to prepare us for the destruction that is to come? I'm sorry. Jump up to verse 4 real quick before we get that. Verse 4.
2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 4. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction.
That's how the Lord is bringing that judgment on the children of Israel. And one of those judgments, one of those curses is famine. We're going to have to depend on our enemies in hunger, and our enemies, they're going to control our access to food, our ability for us to feed ourselves. And that's part of that famine. So what is the solution for us to prepare ourselves? Let's see it in an example. Genesis 41 with our forefather Joseph. Genesis 41 and verse 46. So during the time of Egypt, thousands of years ago, there's a famine that was coming. So what was the wisdom that Joseph gave to the Egyptians? Genesis 41 verse 46.
The book of Genesis chapter 41 and verse 46. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. And in the 7 plentiful years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much until he left numbering, for it was without number.
So during those plenteous years, while Joseph and the Egyptians had the ability, what did they do? They start preparing. They start building up their food storage. So what can we do right now? As the famine worsens, we can stock up on our food, our dry rice, our dried beans, canned vegetables, our supplies, everything that we need in order for us to sustain ourselves for that famine. We need to start preparing now, because it's going to continue to get worse. So as the scripture says, everything written aforetime was written for our learning. From the examples that we see from our forefather Joseph, what did he do during the years that they had plenteous goods, that they had the ability to do? They start stocking up on that food in order to prepare themselves for the hardships that were to come. All right. And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom. What is the nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word.